Hey everyone, this is Larry with Today I Feel Like. Today I'm going to show you how to use your GoPro Hero 11 Black as a studio camera. That's right, many of us don't have money to buy multiple cameras, and when we buy our GoPros, we need to use it for multiple purposes. And so today I'm going to show you how you can use your GoPro Hero 11 Black as a studio camera. So let's jump into it, get it set up, and here we go. Okay, so just as a point of reference, right now I'm filming with my Sony a7S III. I have a 16 to 35 lens on there, and I'm shooting at around 23 millimeters, somewhere around there. So I'm gonna see if I can match my look that I currently have with the GoPro. And so yeah, let's see what we get. Let's go ahead first and get our settings set up on the camera. So let's go ahead and let's go to our settings here. So I'm just going to select, I'm going to go ahead and let's get out of that. Let's select our settings there, and we'll choose our from our presets. I'm going to choose right here where it says cinematic, and I'm going to click that, and I'm going to start changing some things. Now, we can see right here where it's set at 5.3K, 24 frames a second. I know that I'm going to want to output at 16:9. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to leave it at 5.3K, and I'm going to leave it at 5.3K at 24 frames a second at 16:9 ratio. So you have the option of 4:3 or 6:7, but I want 16:9. So we'll leave that there. There we go. Let's tap that to set it. Now where it shows wide, I want to go ahead for the lens. Instead of wide, I want to actually have this as linear. Now you do have options of linear plus horizon lock, which I don't need because we're going to be on a tripod when we're filming in the studio here, so we don't need to worry about horizon lock or even need to worry about image stabilization. But I'm going to go ahead and select linear. Now I'm going to leave the image stabilization on because when you do, it actually crops in a little bit and gives you a little bit of a tighter shot, which is what I want. So all right, we're going to go ahead and we'll leave it on linear right there, which you can see is going to be between 19 and 39 millimeters. And so you see where it says Hyper Smooth on. We're going to go ahead and leave that on right there. We're going to leave scheduled capture off. Duration, no limit. Hindsight is off. We don't need that. Timer's off. We don't need that. And if you want to turn the timer on, you can. That way you can reach around, push the shutter button, and it'll start to count down so you have time to get in place. But you don't really need to worry about that. You can just push the button, get set, and then edit out your the tip and the tail before. So when your early part, when you're getting set up, and the end part, we have to reach over to stop it. You can edit all that out. So, all right, the zoom, we're gonna go ahead and leave that off. 10-bit, we're gonna, where it says Pro Tunes, we're gonna want to put that on, so we have it on. We want to have the highest possible quality we can get. Bit rate, we want to make that high. If you don't have it on high, make sure you set it to high. We want to have it is to get the most information as possible in here. And then where it says shutter, you want to make sure that your shutter, if you can get it to double you want to have it double your frame rate. And so right now I have it set to 48 frames a second. That's exactly where I want it. If you're shooting at 30 frames a second, then you want to move that up to like 60 if you can. And it doesn't look like I'm getting the option right there. So I think you'll get the option depending on where you set your frame rate. So if you set your frame rate at 30 frames a second, I think maybe you'll get some different options there. So, but I have mine at 24 frames a second, so we're going to leave it at 48th of a second because that's what I want. Now I'm shooting inside here. I have my light set up for daylight, and so we can see the white balance right there showing 55K. And depending on the camera, some of these cameras will show that daylight is 55K or 56K. For me, in my mind, I always think that it's 56K, but some cameras read things differently. So yeah, all right. Let's go ahead, and now for the ISO, you can see where it says minimum 800, and it says ISO minimum 800, and then you have an ISO maximum also at 800. I'm going to change this a little bit. I'm going to drop this down and see if I can get this, see if I can get away with 400. at the minimum. And actually, I'll leave that at 400. And the maximum, we're going to go ahead and we'll set this also at 400. Because we're in the studio again, we know that we want to know what our lights, our settings are. And so we're going to go ahead and lock this in. We don't want our ISO floating up or down too much and having that show up in our shot. So we're gonna put that at 400 and 400. We'll leave the sharpness at medium. We'll leave the color at natural. And we'll leave the raw audio off. And the wind, the wind control, we'll leave that off because we're going to be inside. There's not going to be any wind in here. We don't have a media mod connected, so we're not going to have any of that going on. And for shortcuts, you can leave all this however you want it. I have it left where the lens is going to be on the lower left. Lower right is going to be the zoom. Upper left is slow motion, and upper right is hyperlapse, hyper smooth. Now, because I'm setting everything up to work manually in this setting, I don't really need to worry about any of those other settings on there, those shortcuts. But you know, again, that's how you can set them up however you feel like you may need it. So yeah. All right, you may want to set that up so where you can change like the white balance or something, or the shutter speed on there. So if you need to quickly make an adjustment, you have the access to do that from one of the shortcuts. So in fact, that seems like a good idea. Let's do that right now. Let's go ahead and we'll change the upper left from super slow motion. We'll change that to, let's see what we can change that to. Let's get that to shutter speed. No, yeah, we'll change that to shutter speed. We'll get that there. There we go. All right. And now we'll change the upper left. We'll leave that. No, we'll change that from zoom to, we'll change that from zoom to lens if we can. We'll change that to lens. All right, there we go. And oh, we already have one at lens. So we'll leave that. We'll change that then from, we'll change that to timer. We'll set that at timer just in case you want to have your timer there. All right, now we have everything set up the way I want it. If I want to change the lens, I can. If I want to set a timer, I can. If I want the shutter, I can. Change the shutter, I can. And if I want to adjust the hyper smooth, I can as well. So, all right. We are all set up and ready to go here with my GoPro. So let's go ahead and put it on a tripod now and test it out and see what it looks like. All right, so here I am and I have the camera set up. So one thing that we can see is that right now the field of view is wider than my 16 to 35 set at about 23. So this is a little bit wider than about 23 millimeter, because we can see my camera overhead right here, and we can actually even see my microphone right here a little bit too. So just as a quick comparison, here's my Sony camera right there. Lens is set at the same focal length, camera's in the same position, everything is exactly the same, and we're just a little bit tighter in here on my Sony. So, and I have both of the cameras set side by side, and I have the lenses about parallel to each other there. So yeah. All right, well, let's do this. I'm gonna go ahead and actually move the GoPro up just a little bit closer and see if we can actually get this look that we have on the Sony. Also, one thing I've noticed on the GoPro, it looks like the background is a little bit darker. And so I think actually myself, I'm a little bit darker, which is funny because this is the look that I see on the GoPro screen is actually the kind of look that I usually grade my footage for. I usually shoot it and then tweak it a little bit so that it gets to be this way. But I'm going to go ahead and see if I can brighten it up a little bit. I have it set at 400 ISO. Originally, when I thought about doing this, I was thinking I would set it at 800 ISO because of the smaller sensor size. I would need more light coming through. So let's go ahead and bump it up to 800 ISO and see how that's going to look in comparison. Okay, so I went ahead and I changed the position of the camera. So I moved my GoPro up closer to me so I can more closely match the frame, the composition coming from my Sony. So this is my Sony right here. This is the A7S III, and this here is my GoPro Hero 11. Now, I went in to go change my ISO from 400 to 800, and I actually discovered that it was set at a minimum of 200 with a maximum of 800. So I wanted to just go ahead and say, make sure when you set your ISO that it is locked in properly, because I had set it to 400 and I must have slipped or something and went ahead and changed it to 200 instead of 400. So make sure you get that locked in, otherwise you may not have the look that you want. So all right, this is it. This is my GoPro here as a studio camera. What do you think, and what do you think of it in comparison to my Sony a7S III? All right, everyone, well, there you have it. That is it. That is a look at how you can set up your GoPro Hero 11 Black as a studio camera. Now, just keep in mind, your settings are going to vary depending on your lighting situation. And here I have a couple of studio lights. I actually shot with only one of them. This time I had my lighting set up a little bit different. I had one of them off, one of them on, and I had my background lights there going. So yeah, you're going to have different settings based on your own lighting. So just keep that in mind. And if you're shooting and you don't have studio lights, you can use like a nice window, just be right in front of the window, and then adjust your camera settings for that. And I like to lock things in so that you don't have your exposure shifting during your shooting. So yeah, anyways, there you go. I'm gonna leave links to the GoPro down below in the video description so that you can check it out. I'm also gonna leave links to my Amazon page and my social media contacts. You can reach me elsewhere. And I hope you enjoyed seeing this video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up, and please subscribe to this channel and follow me on Instagram. And I am Larry with Today I Feel Like. Thanks for coming back to see me. Come back and see me soon. And until next time, love, peace, and hair grease. Peace.